The world's fastest hedgehog who is free-spirited but hates knavish acts. He can be short-tempered, but is available for those in need of help. In Soliana, he will confront the evil Dr. Eggman in order to save Princess Elise.
And what a character to do the job! Sonic the Hedgehog is deserving of his main character status with a vast selection of moves to help him defeat Eggman's mechs and blast through stages at lightning speed. I hope you stretched because this character is going to turn your hands into a pretzel with how many options he has. Let's start off with the classic, the homing attack. This iconic move turns Sonic into a projectile, lunging him toward the nearest interactable target. Just like the previous games, each successful homing attack allows you to do another one without landing on the ground. For the enemies with bigger health bars, the homing attack can lock onto the same target repeatedly. And since there's no delay between attacks, performing the attack without a target in range will cause Sonic to do a jump dash. In Project 06, there are 3 varieties you can switch between at your leisure in the extras menu. Straight functions just like the original game. Sonic moves forward at a set distance in a straight line and gradually loses his speed over its duration. Curved functions like the E3 2006 demo, which seems to work like Adventure 2's. This jump dash moves Sonic forward in a downward arc. The direction he is moving before the dash affects its trajectory just a little as well. Legacy functions like 2005 Shadow the Hedgehog. Sonic moves forward in a set speed, but not in a set direction. As good as the other 2 options are, the Legacy Jump Dash is the clear winner. Not only does it go the farthest, but its ability to be influenced up or down is invaluable when moving through stages quickly. Additionally, Sonic can jump into enemies and perform the enemy bounce. Hold the jump button while bouncing off an enemy to gain a lot of height, or don't and do a short hop instead. The Spindash has been reverted to its former glory. Of course, holding down the Spindash button will charge it, and letting go will cause Sonic to dash forward with a burst of speed. However, now you can do it like it's 1998 and mash the button to perform constant spin dashes, or what I like to call the spam dash. This is great for keeping Sonic at top speed through his stages. Next up is the spin kick. This niche ability allows Sonic to do a quick leg sweep while maintaining his ground speed, basically an alternative to the spin dash. What makes it special is that it can extend speeds gained from sources like dash panels by mashing the button after hitting one. The spin kick button can be held down for about 1 second to activate the slide attack. While also outclassed by the new spin dash, it does have the same benefit of being influenced by gravity. Maybe there is some way to get use out of this move. While airborne, pressing the spin dash button will cause Sonic to do the bound attack, returning from Adventure 2. This move is essential to taking down beefier foes, as it deals constant damage while in an enemy's hitbox. This move also allows Sonic to jump higher, maxing out after just 2 bounces. The bound attack has a secondary use too. Sonic will gain another jump dash charge after performing it even if he didn't hit a target. Combine this with the straight jump dash to cross even larger distances, or use it with the other 2 to keep Sonic at top speed when landing on the ground from the air. There is also an oversight turned feature with this interaction. If you press the jump button and the bound attack button at the same time, Sonic will do another jump dash without doing the bound attack. While not much different for the curved and legacy jump dash, as they still send Sonic downward due to how the bound attack functions, this is only a boon for the straight jump dash. Since it sends the Hedgehog forward with no influence from his previous actions, you can maintain the same altitude for even longer. Pretty sweet. Sonic's final main action is his light dash. Press the button near a trail of rings to travel along their path at light speed. Not all rings are light dashable, so you'll have to experiment in each of his stages to see which ones are. In addition to all of those moves, Sonic has 3 other unique gameplay styles that switch up his moveset. Wave Ocean, Crisis City, Radical Train, and Kingdom Valley's final sections set Sonic into super speed. In these Mach speed sections, the speed is cranked up tenfold and Sonic is unable to stop moving. While that sounds bad, the PO6 team has made sure to give the player enough options to make these sections fun. Sonic is able to be sped up and slowed simply by holding forward or backward on the control stick. But don't go too slow, or you might get caught in a tornado. The ability to jump into enemies helps out quite a bit too, especially in Wave Ocean. Just give them a quick bop on the head to keep the pace going. Also, Sonic can perform the bound and slide attack during these sections, which both slow him down, especially the bound attack. A good way to apply the brakes if things are getting too hectic. Sonic can also use his light dash in these sections. Not only does it make him invincible for its duration, but if you hold forward, Sonic will begin running with speed lines around him. The community gave this state the name Mach 3, which allows our hero to barrel through enemies and weaker obstacles. Sonic gains more defense, but needs quicker reflexes with how fast he's running. I wonder if there is a way to make these sections even cooler. Next up, White Acropolis and Crisis City's opening sections both see Sonic riding a snowboard, or piece of metal board in Crisis City's case. These sections aren't too involved, as the only action Sonic can do is tricks off of highlighted ramps by holding the jump button and releasing it. A nice addition PO6 brings is the Kick Dash, which allows Sonic to gain some quick speed if he were to run into a wall or something. Finally, Dusty Desert and Tropical Jungle are both fantastic stages that see Sonic with a severely butchered moveset. Yes, I have beef. While Sonic is carrying Princess Elise, he is only capable of using his homing attack, slide attack, and light dash. At the very least, the slide attack can get some use here to maintain light dash speeds as well as move faster downhill, but I still miss all the other tricks. Sonic's unique action during these stages is the Fire Shield, which damages enemies on contact and allows him to walk on quicksand and water. Yay. We aren't done yet, because it's time to talk about Sonic's upgrades, the gems. There are 7 of these guys scattered about in his campaign, and it's up to you to find them all and wield their special abilities. Each gem grants Sonic a custom action, which uses up some of the action gauge in the bottom right to perform. Side note, the Fire Shield is also governed by the action gauge. The meter will fill on its own while on the ground, but will also be filled regardless of Sonic's predicament by the blue Chaos drives and yellow light cores that drop from defeated enemies. Since they do the same thing, I'll refer to both as energy cores from this point on. Gathering 3 of these cores with the gem equipped will cause it to level up. Each gem could be leveled up a total of 2 times, boosting their effects and in some cases lowering their action gauge cost. The blue gem grants Sonic the Mach speed custom action. This burst of speed that sends Sonic forward is similar to that of a dash panel. Leveling it up will increase the length of the dash, use less action gauge, and damage enemies when maxed. This doesn't seem too useful at first since we already have the Spindash, but understanding how the blue gem interacts with other moves is where things really start making sense. Sonic gets its speed instantaneously, versus having to do a couple spin dashes before that hits max speed. So you can do some really cool jumps with it that would normally take some setting up to do if you were to use the spin dash. Secondly, just like with dash panels, Sonic can use his spin kick after a blue gem, extending its speed boost. At max level, a blue gem followed by 2 spin kicks is the fastest way to move on the ground, outside of the speed shoes, and will gain back more action gauge than you use to perform it. The red gem grants Sonic the slow custom action. This slows down everything in the game to a crawl at the cost of some action gauge. Leveling up this gem will lengthen the slowdown. With no real benefit to Sonic, this gem has very rare usage. It can be helpful for newcomers to the game, but other than that, there isn't much to do with it other than make the music sound cool. The green gem grants Sonic the Tornado custom action. This kicks up a tornado that can be activated on the ground or in the air to defeat enemies and break objects. This move can also deflect projectiles. Leveling it up will increase the tornado's range, damage, and reduce the cost of activation. Also, the tornado can be canceled by pressing the jump button. However, once the move is canceled, the tornado will no longer do damage, even if the effects are still there. The purple gem grants Sonic the Stealth custom action. While holding the button down, the action gauge will constantly drain and allow Sonic to double jump. Leveling it up allows up to 3 extra jumps, and at max, Sonic can go invisible. This gem is amazing and becomes even better once you learn a few tricks with it. You only have to hold the button down while doing those extra jumps, meaning that you can use very little action gauge to perform them. Naturally, this synergizes very well with the blue gem. It takes some practice getting used to switching between them, but it's well worth it. Additionally, the Speed Shoes power-up is incredible with this upgrade. They remove air drag, which allows Sonic to cross insane distances for the power-up's duration. Note that you can't use a homing attack after purple gem jumps unless you first do a bound attack. The sky gem grants Sonic the Gun Drive custom action, a badass name for a badass ability. While the button is held, Sonic will hold the gem and aim it. Upon release, Sonic will chuck the gem and, wherever it lands, be grappled to its landing point. Throwing it in the air will launch it in a predetermined arc. Think of it like an ender pearl from Minecraft, but you travel the distance rather than teleport. Leveling this gem up will cause Sonic to do damage to the enemies he flies through during his travel. The most useful quirk of this upgrade is using it against walls. It gives Sonic a boost upward, so it's a great way to save yourself if you just miss a jump. Note that you can sky gem out of purple gem jumps, but can't that purple gem out of a sky gem. The white gem grants Sonic the homing smash custom action. This causes Sonic to stop in the air to charge a stronger homing attack. Leveling it up increases the damage the attack does and causes enemies to ricochet into other targets, exploding upon contact. Just like the homing attack, using it without a target in range will cause Sonic to use a jump dash. While the dash itself isn't unique, what is that all of the Hedgehog's speed is cancelled when activating the gem. This allows Sonic to get more horizontal distance with the curved and legacy dash, a nice alternative to using straight. The yellow gem grants Sonic the Thunder Guard custom action. This lightning shield absorbs damage and draws in nearby rings at the cost of the action gauge. Leveling it up increases the shield's resilience, slowing the drain and tanking more hits, and increases its ring attraction range. The shield will also ignore the negative effects of some environmental hazards, such as the lava and flame core, at the cost of absorbing the damage. Also note that the Thunder Guard will overwrite a regular shield. Since the gems can't be used in Mach speed sections, and regular shields can, it might be better to avoid using these in stages that feature those. Since defeating enemies will drop energy cores, which will recharge the action gauge even in use, and drawing in rings helps with the ring bonus, this gem is fantastic for grabbing S ranks. Speaking of S ranks, earning them in every stage in Sonic's story unlocks the Rainbow Gem. Collecting 50 rings with this gem equipped will grant Sonic the Super custom action. This, of course, transforms Sonic into his iconic Super state. While in this form, Super Sonic is completely invincible, except to pits, and defeats any enemy in one hit, regardless of health. Additionally, since Sonic transformed with the gem instead of the Chaos Emeralds, that means we can level it up. Level 2 increases his base speed and jump height, and level 3 unlocks the Arrow of Light. For the cost of the entire action gauge, Super Sonic can do a huge dash forward, obliterating anything in his path. The best part, though, is in Mach speed sections. Entering one of these as Super Sonic allows you to stay as Super Sonic. He's faster than regular Sonic and keeps his invincibility. This is awesome, but you only get one chance, as if you die or restart, you will begin the section again as regular Sonic. After all, with great power comes great responsibility. A friendly kid fox with two tails who is a mechanical genius, skilled pilot, and can fly by spinning his tails like a helicopter rotor. Alongside his best friend Sonic the Hedgehog, they give chase to Dr. Eggman to overthrow his plans and save Princess Elise. The high-flying super genius, Tails, is exactly the capable character you expect him to be. With multiple long and short-range attack options at his disposal, along with his signature flight, this kid will have no trouble traversing stages. Pressing the jump button while in the air will cause Tails to fly, with his horizontal direction influenced by the left stick. Hold the jump button to ascend, and let go to do the opposite. Like in other Sonic games, his flight is limited, with a duration displayed visually by the action gauge in the bottom right. Note that ascending is more costly than descending. Since Tails' flight is determined by this gauge, filling the meter with energy cores from defeated enemies will extend his flight time. But that's not the only way, as mashing the jump button rather than holding it will make Tails alternate between the two flying states. This enables him to fly higher and farther at the cost of not ascending as quickly. A pretty good trade-off. Pressing the attack button on the ground tosses a dummy ring bomb. This projectile is a fake capsule of rings that will explode on contact. Additionally, 10 dummy rings are launched in a circle around its target. These damage enemies on contact as well, making this move a great option for large groups. Holding the attack button on the ground will switch to a first-person cam, allowing for more precise aiming of the dummy ring bomb. But may I just say that Tails can chuck these things? Without a target, this guy can easily send these bombs into the stratosphere. Let's just aim this thing right here. Pressing the attack button while in the air will activate Pressing the attack button in the air will activate the dummy ring Blitz. Similar to the ground variant, Tails will launch a dummy ring bomb at the nearest enemy. There's no limit to how many he can throw or delay between throws, so bombard foes to your heart's content like the little F-22 he is. Finally, pressing the secondary attack button on the ground activates the tail swipe, returning from Sonic Adventure. Holding the button allows for continuous swipes as well. ChaosX brings a pretty sweet addition to this move, being able to perform it in the air. It seems pretty useless at first since he can already spin jump into foes and bounce off of them, but it's the only way to cancel his flight. This makes for a nice close range option while in the air for the two-tailed fox, and he gets a small boost out of it too. You can also reactivate the flight after a swipe, extending airtime even more. And that's it. As a supporting character to Sonic in his story, Tails' moveset is nowhere near as complex, but that doesn't mean he can't be loads of fun.
A powerful and wild echidna who is a close friend of Sonic, determined and serious, yet sometimes gullible. After an unexpected request from Dr. Eggman, Knuckles decides to join Sonic and Tails in their search for Princess Elise.
Rougher than the rest of them, Knuckles is an absolute beast when it comes to combat. His unmatched combo diversity combined with his souped-up gliding capabilities make him a joy to control. Of course, pressing the jump button in the air starts a glide. As long as the button is held, Knuckles will move in the direction of the left stick and slowly fall toward the ground, gaining speed during his descent. You can cancel his glide by letting go of the jump button and reinitiate it by pressing it again. However, with this method, there is about a quarter of a second of delay before the glide starts up again. Gliding or jumping into a vertical surface causes Knuckles to grab it. From here, he can climb up or down in any direction. To let go, either go all the way to the end of the surface, which I don't recommend, or simply jump. The fastest way to climb up isn't even by climbing at all. Simply jump against a surface until Knuckles grabs it, then jump again. Repeat until you've ascended to the heavens. Pressing the attack button on the ground makes Knuckles punch. The button can be pressed an additional 2 times for a 3-hit combo, and hitting a different button on the 3rd time performs a different finisher. The standard finisher is the Stonebreaker from the original game, which greatly damages enemies in an area around Knuckles, instantly finishing off most. Pressing the secondary attack button instead finishes with the Dash Punch, returning from Sonic Adventure. This lunges Knuckles forward a short distance, damaging anything in his way. Pressing the secondary action button, the same one that Sonic uses for the Light Dash, finishes with the Crimson Uppercut, inspired by Sonic Adventure 2. This is a great option for taller enemies that are harder to defeat. Knuckles is no slouch when it comes to aerial combat either. Pressing the attack button while in the air activates the Ground Shaker, a powered-up version of the Drill Drive from Sonic Adventure 2. With this move, Knuckles will dive downward until he hits the ground. The dive's direction can be slightly influenced by the left stick and can be canceled into a glide by pressing the jump button. While diving down, this move can damage enemies in the way, and when landing, the Ground Shaker will emit a shockwave that stuns enemies in its area of effect. The sound design is great too. And that's all. Just like Tails, Knuckles is Wait, what's that? Holding the secondary attack button on the ground and releasing it near an enemy causes Knuckles to do the screwdriver? Holding the button for longer will increase its power as well? Huh. Well, I guess now that's all. Just like Tails, Knuckles takes a supporting role in PO6, so his moveset isn't too robust. It's really cool to see his combat become more varied though, rather than just the simple 1-2 punch.
The ultimate life form created by Professor Gerald. While on a mission from the federal government to rescue Rouge, he encounters a mysterious enemy, Mephiles. During the course of their battle, he's hurled into the future.
Gun's newest recruit, Shadow the Hedgehog, is a force to be reckoned with. Though he shares many abilities with Sonic, his fighting-centric focus along with his superior air mobility makes him different enough to stand out from the blue blur. Shadow shares the same spin jump, Badnik bounce combo almost every other character has, as well as the jump dash and homing attack with Sonic. His jump dash has the same customizability as well, with the option to switch between the straight, curved, and legacy types from the extras menu. A slight difference is his chaos attack, performed after making contact with the homing attack on beefier foes. This is a 5-hit combo that beats down whatever Shadow is locked onto. As expected, Shadow has the Spindash as well, working the same way as Sonic's. Interestingly though, this is a new addition to his arsenal in PO6, since it was, for whatever reason, omitted from his move kit in the original game. Good thing this was the only time a core feature of Sonic games was removed for no reason, right? What? The last core similarity between the two iconic rivals is the Light Dash. Without Mach speed sections though, it's not nearly as prominent here. The Light Dash button can also be hit during a chaos attack to cancel it mid-combo. Here's where things start to differ more. Pressing the attack button with Shadow activates the Tornado Kick, which hits enemies in an area around the Hedgehog. Similar to Sonic's Green Gem, the damage caused by this move is constant, but unlike the Green Gem, Shadow keeps moving during the attack, albeit at a reduced speed. The hitbox takes the form of a sphere around him, which becomes larger the more times the button is pressed, but reduces his ground speed further. This means that it can hit targets slightly above and below ground too. The spin dash can also be cancelled with a tornado kick. This circumvents the speed reduction, but makes the move harder to control. Here's a snippet of Aquatic Base's opening combat section to illustrate this move's power. So those purple worms, they have the most health of any enemy in the game. Yeah, the kick is pretty good. Next up is the Chaos Spear, performed by pressing the Spindash button in the air. Just hitting the button causes Shadow to throw 1 to 5 spears out depending on the amount of targets, stunning them upon contact. Holding the button will suspend Shadow in place and charge a yellow variant, which does 1 point of damage and can destroy weaker objects like wooden boxes and searchlight bulbs. Shadow can throw up to 3 sets of spears before either having to land, connect a jump dash with an object, or homing attack an enemy. The spear has a small secondary effect too. After throwing one, Shadow will recover and gain a small amount of height. Not too terribly useful on its own, but this happens after each spear. This effectively becomes a double jump when all 3 are used in succession. That's not all either. Just like Sonic, using a Chaos Spear after a jump dash will grant Shadow an additional jump dash. Though, there is only a single extra charge before having to refresh the spear count, but it can be used after any amount of throws. A spear can even be used before the first jump dash for extra precision. Shadow also shares the same interaction as Sonic when pressing the jump and spin dash button at the same time in the air. This will use up an extra jump dash charge without using a spear. Incredibly useful for keeping the flow going since using a spear normally brings Shadow to a complete stop. Unlike Sonic though, the curved and legacy jump dash aren't forced downward with this mechanic, so don't worry about dashing into a pit. Moving on, the action gauge at the bottom right, which is essentially PO6's magic bar, doesn't regenerate naturally for Shadow. The only way to fill it up is by collecting the blue and yellow energy cores that drop from defeated enemies, or instantly with a gauge up capsule. Once the bar is full, it will glow. At this point, pressing the custom action button activates Shadow's signature ability, Chaos Boost. In this mode, the Hedgehog will glow red and gain a new move, Chaos Snap. With it, the homing attack now warps to targets and the Chaos attack does extra damage. Holding the jump button causes Shadow to automatically lock onto the next target as well, up to 5 times. Tougher enemies stall the chain and must be defeated with the Chaos attack before warping to the next one. Chaos Snap can also extend the range of the homing attack. Shadow will still do the jump dash if there isn't a target to lock onto, but if the jump button is held down during the dash, he will lock onto the nearest one should it enter his range. Combine this with the Chaos Spear jump dash refresh combo to cross huge distances. Just like every other ability Shadow has, this isn't the only thing Chaos Boost can do. Collecting more energy cores and gauge up capsules will now also fill up the red maturity meter underneath the action gauge. When this one is full, the custom action button can be pressed again to unlock Chaos Boost level 2, which enables Chaos Lance. While active, Shadow's base Chaos Spear becomes the yellow variant, and charging it fires a lance instead. The projectile will do heavy damage to any unfortunate soul on the receiving end, and makes a small explosion on contact that does some chip damage as well. Filling up the maturity meter again unlocks Chaos Boost level 3, which enables Chaos Blast. I'll let this one speak for itself.
Chaos Blast!
Not to make the state too overpowered, there is a limit to it. While Shadow is in Chaos Boost, the action gauge will slowly drain. When emptied, he will return to his base form. Level 2 increases the drain further, and even more at level 3. Additionally, each charged lance and blast use a small amount of the action gauge on top of the drain, so it's important to know the exact right time to use Chaos Boost, or when to hold off on entering the next level. To combat this, the gauge can be extended by collecting more energy cores and capsules, which will happen naturally as the Hedgehog tears through enemies. That's not all Shadow has to his gameplay either, as there are vehicles he can pilot during certain sections. First off is the hang glider, which can be moved in any direction with the left stick. Holding the jump button will increase its speed, and double tapping it will initiate a short boost, which can be reactivated every 3 seconds. Next up is the hover car, which is used to cross water and quicksand. Holding the jump button will accelerate the vehicle, and the spin dash button will cause it to brake, or go in reverse if at a standstill. While in the air, holding the jump button causes the hover car to, well, hover, with its direction and speed influenced by the left stick. Double tapping the jump button while on a surface will cause the hover car to, well, jump. The bike has controls similar to the hover car, though double tapping the jump button will activate a boost like the hang glider. This boost has a 1-second cooldown. Oh yeah, Shadow can also drive the buggy. It's just a heavier bike, with a boost that has a 3-second cooldown. Each of these vehicles has a health bar of varying durability, with the bike and hang glider being flimsier than the buggy or hover car. They also come with mounted weapons, activated with the custom action button. The buggy and hang glider have a 2-shot missile launcher, while the bike and hover car have a machine gun. When a vehicle runs out of ammo, there is a short delay to reload the weapon. To enter and exit these vehicles at any time, press the light dash button. The hang glider, though, can't be dismounted. Come to think of it, The hover car also can't be dismounted when in Dusty Desert, and the hang glider has to be mounted manually in Wave Ocean, unlike all the other sections that feature it. You know, it's even possible to complete this section without entering the glider. I'm getting sidetracked. In reference to 2005 Shadow the Hedgehog, driving a vehicle while in Chaos Boost grants infinite ammo, which is particularly great for the machine gun. Shadow also gets a special upgrade after earning every S rank in his story, which is the Memory Shard Light. Pressing D-pad up and the custom action button with a full maturity meter at level 3 Chaos Boost releases Shadow's inhibitor rings, unleashing uninhibited mode. This once cutscene only ability is now fully integrated into gameplay. Now Shadow has the almighty power of touch damage, instantly vaporizing any opposition. All of the Chaos Boost abilities become supercharged as well. Chaos Snap of course benefits from the one-hit kill aura. Chaos Lance now only throws the charged variant and can target up to 5 enemies at once. And now, Lance and Blast no longer use up the extra gauge when performing their respective techniques. This is no super form though. While in this state, Shadow's action gauge drains faster than ever before. When empty, the ultimate life form will have to recover for about 6 seconds, locking the controls whether on the ground or in the air. Thankfully, this drawback doesn't apply when in automation or when on rails, and the action gauge can be refilled with energy cores just like Chaos Boost. What a reward.
A professional treasure hunter and part-time government spy. After retrieving the Scepter of Darkness as a part of a mission from Gun and escaping with Shadow, the mysterious item releases a mighty foe from the past. Together, they engage in a journey to stop his evil deeds.
Secret Agent Rouge the Bat has a very well-rounded moveset in PO6. Don't let its simple nature be deceptive, because each of these moves can pack a punch, or kick, I guess. First off, Rouge navigates terrain in much the same way that Knuckles does. She can glide in the air and cling to walls, along with her drill drive returning from Sonic Adventure 2, called the Kick Dive here. It even shares the shockwave effect the Ground Shaker has, stunning foes upon hitting the ground. Rouge's martial arts make a return here too. Pressing the attack button 3 times performs a kick combo, ending with an uppercut. Since she ends her attack in the air, the Kick Dive can be performed right after the combo, leading to some wicked damage output. Being the spy she is, Rouge also comes equipped with bombs, switching between 3 different kinds. On the ground, pressing the secondary attack button does the Bomb Snipe. With the help of a little aim assist, Rouge will launch a 1 damage projectile at the nearest target. Holding the button changes to an over-the-shoulder cam for more precise aiming. And yeah, just like Tails, she can chuck these things too. While climbing walls, the same input will lay a heart bomb. This will damage foes in a small radius and destroy weaker obstacles. In the air, pressing the button throws a back cracker mine with similar aim assist to the grounded variant. This one is really cool because Rouge keeps moving during the attack, and she can throw them very quickly. Not much of a stealth mission with these at her disposal. Holding the button in the air will stop Rouge in place and charge a stronger version. When released, she will throw 5 mines at once, dealing heavy damage. And that's it. Her simple yet very effective moveset is an interesting change of pace when compared to the other characters of PO6. It's pretty neat.
The last and most powerful of Dr. Eggman's E-Series robots. A request from Rouge leads Omega to assist Shadow in the future to fight Mephiles. After he escapes to the present, Omega joins Shadow and Rouge in their chase after Mephiles to stop his evil deeds.
The worthwhile consumer model Omega has the tools to decimate anything in his way. With solid stats to back up the insane firepower, he's got no problem tearing through PO6. Let's start off with his movement. In addition to a decent ground speed, Omega can spin jump and Badnik bounce. Chaos. Why? Yeah, sadly Omega is an exception to the spin jump and Badnik bounce. No rage this time though, as he is more than capable of defeating foes with the rest of his arsenal. Pressing and holding the jump button in the air will cause the robot to hover at a decent speed and slowly descend like Rouge's glide. The hover ends by letting go of the jump button, or when the action gauge in the bottom right runs out of energy. This gauge will refill naturally while Omega is grounded, but can be boosted by collecting energy cores from defeated enemies. These cores can also be collected while hovering, extending his time in the air. Pressing the attack button on the ground will begin the melee combo inspired by Sonic Heroes. Pressing the button 3 times will unleash a gyratory barrage of shotgun pellets with a large area of effect. very useful for taking out hordes of beefier targets. Pressing the attack button in the air performs the Omega launcher. This slows him down and fires a 2 damage shot at the nearest target. Omega will consume action gauge energy when performing this attack to stay airborne, so be careful. Holding down the secondary attack button will activate Omega's lock-on shot, working very similar to the lock-on shot of the mechs from Sonic Adventure 2. Up to 5 unique targets will be overlaid with an aiming reticle. Releasing the button fires the homing laser, doing 1 point of damage to each of the affected enemies. This move works the same way while airborne too, which synergizes greatly with the energy core mechanic. Pressing the secondary action button, the same one Shadow uses for the light dash, switches Omega to Gatling guns mode. Just like he did against Mephiles, move him around with the left stick, aim with the right stick, and rapid fire bullets with the press of the custom action button. While similar to the machine gun on Shadow's bike and hover car, Omega only has half the ammunition that those do, and he doesn't reload automatically. Instead, each energy core will refill his magazine a small amount, making it vital to prioritize enemies as they drop plenty of those. Though Omega can't jump or use his other actions while in this form, the bullets can activate switches and collect item boxes from afar, though some may be difficult to hit. Press the button again to switch back to normal. It's worth noting that the mode can only be used on the ground, and walking off a ledge will switch him back automatically. And that's it. Talk about versatility. What Omega lacks in agility, he makes up for in strength. Don't have to dodge enemies that are already dead.
A naive but kind-hearted Hedgehog with telekinetic powers, the mysterious Hedgehog travels back in time to save the future from the disaster that befalls it. With the help of a stranger bear and the ability to travel through time, Silver begins his chase after the Iblis trigger.
Hero of the future, Silver the Hedgehog brings a unique flavor of gameplay to PO6. While not too competent physically, his psychic powers more than make up the difference to hold his own against the other characters. Silver's top speed isn't anything to write home about, and he can't spin jump or Badnik bounce into enemies. But let's put a pin in that until he gets a little more perspective. The main attraction of Silver's move kit is his Psychokenesis. At base, a press of the custom action button will lift and carry nearby objects in a cone-shaped radius in front of him, costing some of the energy in the action gauge. This meter serves as PO6's magic system, limiting the use of the character's more powerful abilities. If the button is held down while moving, Silver will lift up objects that enter his radius, provided he has the energy to do it. The action gauge will refill naturally while Silver is on the ground and not actively using his powers. It can also be gained by collecting blue and yellow energy cores from defeated enemies, or instantly with a gauge up capsule. The latter methods fill up the gauge regardless of Silver's predicament, and with how vital his powers are for his gameplay, keeping the gauge topped off is a priority. While lifting objects, Silver can move and jump around with them, where they will interact with the environment in different ways depending on what the object is. For example, holding a steel box will push around enemies if moved at a high enough speed, but if the object is something like a spike ball, to release objects from Silver's grasp, simply press the custom action button again. While this method sets them down gently, there are ways to turn any object into a deadly weapon. Say hello to the Psycho Smash. By pressing the attack button, Silver will throw out a small concentration of psychic power that can push away obstacles and stun enemies. While carrying objects, pressing the button will launch them one by one in the order that they were grabbed. This has some aim assist to help actually hit what's being targeted, and is smart enough to not have other lifted objects get in the way of what's being thrown. Silver's Psychokenesis can also grab most hostile enemy projectiles too, and with the Psycho Smash, they can be fired back at them. Yeah, nice try, bud. Instead of just pressing the attack button, hold it down for about a second to charge a hold smash. At full power, releasing the button will throw everything Silver is carrying at once, leading to some mass destruction if used creatively. For some bad manners, the hold smash can also deal little damage if released near foes. Enemies that are stunned can be lifted as well, and can be used as projectiles or crushed by pressing the custom action button, which insta-kills them regardless of health. Yeah, health bars are basically cosmetic in Silver's case, which helps the flow of his gameplay a great deal. Quickly double tapping the custom action button will cause Silver to focus his powers with the Psychokenesis-All. This will pick up anything liftable in a decent radius around him, but he loses his ability to move until every object is released. All of the same rules of releasing base Psychokinesis has applies here too, including a dope animation when using the hold smash with this technique. Pressing the custom action button while standing on a liftable object causes Silver to Uplifted. At a heavy cost of the action gauge, this can be used to easily reach previously inaccessible high ground. Hitting the attack button while uplifting an object performs the uplift smash, where Silver will launch his foothold in whatever direction he's facing with great force. Throughout his campaign, Silver will come across special runes on the ground. These amplify his power when psychokinesis is used on them to open doors and create platforms. In certain situations, they can also help the Hedgehog manipulate much larger objects than he could on his own. And in PO6, they are all properly oriented toward what they activate, unlike the original game. Thanks, Chaos. Moving on, Silver can also use his powers on himself to do some special maneuvers. Pressing the jump button while in the air activates his Levitate ability. For as long as the action gauge allows, Silver can move freely in the air along the same altitude. It can be deactivated at any time by letting go of the button and reactivated by pressing it again. Some clever use of this move can help Silver cross larger gaps than he could normally. He can also levitate while holding objects, but don't forget to keep an eye on that action gauge. Double tapping the jump button from the ground will initiate the teleport dash. This is a short burst forward that consumes some of the action gauge. While not terribly useful on its own, Silver is invulnerable to touch damage during the dash, allowing him to fly through enemies. Holding the attack button in the air activates the Psycho Shock. This is one of the most useful moves in his arsenal, as it stuns any foe in a decent radius around him once he lands. The landing animation can also be cancelled with a jump or Psycho Smash, and since Silver doesn't care about enemy health bars, literally any formation can be decimated in seconds with a Psycho Shock, Psychokinesis, or Psychokenesis-All combo. Absolutely devastating. If Silver finds himself in need of a ranged option but doesn't have any objects to lift, the Psychic Shot will do the trick. Based off his first encounter with Sonic, a press of the secondary attack button uses up some of the action gauge to fire a projectile that can destroy objects, stun enemies, and damage them after the stun. The orb also has homing properties to make using it on the move easier. And that's not all. Just like the Hedgehogs before him, Silver can find a few upgrades throughout his campaign to enhance his abilities. Since the character hasn't been explored much outside of his original appearance, each upgrade is seen as a representation of growth in his journey. First up is the Lotus of Resilience.
Having now witnessed the different world that is the past, Silver has newfound determination and grows stronger in mind and flexibility, improving his movement options.
Learning from his more agile companions, Silver has gained the ability to spin jump and Badnik bounce like them. This is massive for his gameplay, as he now has a method to deal with enemies that doesn't require his psychokinesis. That's less cumbersome than the hold smash anyway. This also unlocks a ton of new routes thanks to the added movement. Additionally, the teleport dash now lasts the full duration of the action gauge, speeding him up significantly. While it consumes energy at a faster rate than levitation, it covers more distance thanks to its faster speed. And now that the dash is more useful, it's worth noting that Silver can still initiate one even after other actions like uplifting an object or grinding on rails. Next up is the Flame of Control.
Gaining new clarity thanks to Shadow in the past, Silver now has a clear goal to strive for and continues to grow stronger, unlocking more power out of his psychokinesis.
Now with greater focus, Silver throws objects for more damage with the hold smash, and gains a new ability, the Psychic Knife. Ironically taking some inspiration from his future self, holding the secondary attack button will charge it. Letting go releases the blade in the direction Silver is facing. It has a shorter range than the shot and it doesn't home in, but its increased damage, radius, and ability to travel through targets more than makes up for it. Mashing the baton after releasing will fire as many knives as the action gauge allows, and both the shot and blade are capable of going through solid objects too. And that's still not all. S-ranking every stage in Silver's campaign proves mastery of his abilities, which unlocks the Sigil of Awakening. Silver's desire to save the world releases a latent super ability that overclocks his psychokinesis. Blast away enemies with psychic energy, reflect almost every projectile, perform insane teleport dashes across huge gaps, and so much more. To enter this state, Silver will need some of the extra power the energy cores provide, which now also fill up the new maturity meter below the action gauge. Once it's past the white marker, holding D-pad up and pressing the custom action button releases that energy in the form of ESP mode. In further detail, activation of this power unleashes a massive blast of psychic energy, instantly defeating anything in its radius. During its duration, Silver will reflect enemy projectiles, stun enemies near him automatically, dispose of those stunned enemies instantly with the Psycho Smash, be able to use the Psychokenesis-All while moving, power up the Psychic Shot to hit foes in an area around its contact point, and use his Psychokinesis abilities more efficiently, conserving about a third of their energy usage. Woo! Whew, that's a lot of stuff. It's important to know that Silver will take touch damage even with ESP active, so he'll still have to watch his step. Once activated, Silver will remain in the state until the maturity meter runs out of energy. Collecting energy cores does not extend its duration. This is the most interesting quirk of this form. Is it better to activate it early for a quick shortcut, or wait until the maturity meter is filled up further to have it for longer? Some shortcuts that can be performed seem to be designed around this as well. Very cool.
A calm and level-headed feline that's quick on her claws. After traveling to the past with Silver in order to save the future, they ended up separated. Now on her own, she has to find her way back to him while on the search for a way to defeat the Iblis trigger.
The soul lit aflame Blaze the Cat is one of the most fluid characters in PO6's roster. Her heightened instincts translate well into her actions as she gracefully weaves through the game's level design. Along with the classic ability to jump into enemies and bounce off of them, she can ascend even further into the skies with the Accelerator Tornado. Activated by pressing the jump button in the air, Blaze will use her fire powers for a small boost, acting as a double jump. This move will still damage enemies, but she can't bounce off of them like a regular spin jump. Pressing the attack button on the ground or in the air initiates the fire claw, Blaze's take on the jump dash and homing attack. Without a target, she will lunge forward in a dolphin-like motion, stopping herself after about a second. The speed and direction of the dive can be influenced with the control stick as well, allowing for a great amount of air control. Since the fire claw can be reactivated right after the move ends, the best way to keep the speed going with Blaze is to mash the button during its duration. This continues her dive without slowing down or breaking out of the spin. And while her jump dash is a little different, her homing attack works just like Sonic and Shadows, locking in on the nearest target. Note that her jump dash is not affected by the setting in the extras menu. And if she wasn't aerobatic enough already, the fire claw can be canceled out of with an Accelerator Tornado. As an added bonus, if she were to start with a jump, do a double jump, then a fire claw, Blaze gains another Accelerator Tornado, allowing for a triple jump. If spaced out properly, the feline can cross huge pieces of terrain without hitting the ground once. Moving on, pressing the secondary attack button performs the crow attack, which will be called the claw attack in future releases. Like her real-life counterparts, Blaze will pounce forward and damage whatever is in front of her. This move can also extend the speed gained from sources like dash panels, giving her an edge on the ground. Finally, a press of the tertiary attack button, the same one Sonic and Shadow use for the light dash, activates the spinning claw, spawning a swirling fire tornado around her. Unlike the claw attack, this move lasts much longer and works better for large enemy formations that are more spaced out. Its duration can be cut early by letting go of the button, and it can be activated in the air. And just like the fire claw, combining this move with the Accelerator Tornado can also allow for triple jumps. And that's all. While the Accelerator Tornado and fire claw are certainly the stars of her moveset, the claw attack and spinning claw are still useful for keeping Blaze on course while still defeating foes.
An energetic and reliable girl that adores Sonic. During her tireless search for Sonic, Amy ends up running into Silver. Both with common goals, they engage in a pursuit to find their targets. But fate throws them in for a loop not long after their team up.
From night to day, Amy Rose has gotten the biggest glow up Project 06 has to offer. By tapping more into her agility and clever use of the Pico Pico hammer, she makes her appearance in the original game look like it was just a bad dream. Like almost everybody else, looking at you, Omega, Amy can spin jump and Badnik bounce off of enemies, which is made even more useful with her double jump. While not maintaining all of the speed from her first jump, it still gets the job done on its own when it comes to accessing higher areas and correcting mistakes. Amy is also able to use her hammer in a variety of ways. Pressing the attack button on the ground will activate the standard attack. While somewhat unremarkable at a standstill, it becomes incredibly powerful when used on the move, hitting multiple times during its swing. It almost gives Shadow's tornado kick a run for its money. While in the air, Amy can swing the hammer around herself, decimating aerial targets. This jump attack will do 2 points of damage per hit and gives the Hedgehog a small boost upward when making contact, which isn't limited to just enemies. The best part is that she can do this multiple times per jump, unlike the double jump. This allows Amy to use that as a safety net for a more dire situation when there's nothing to hammer off of. Next up is some speed tech, the hammer jump. Like in Sonic Adventure, Amy will vault herself off the ground with her hammer, moving very quickly horizontally and being able to influence its direction with the control stick. The change in its trajectory is to accommodate her double jump. Essentially, the previous iteration of the hammer jump has now been separated into two different moves, which allows for more control over Amy's speed and positioning. The hammer jump can also deal damage to enemies in its path, and with its hitbox active for the entire time, it melts through larger foes like a hot knife through butter. To get that adventure-style bounce, the move can be canceled out of with a double jump. Fancy that. Finally, a press of the secondary attack button triggers Amy's spin hammer attack, also returning from Sonic Adventure. It's a lot easier to use in PO6 though, as here it works more like Blaze's spinning claw. You know, looking at it now, Amy and Blaze have very similar movesets, both equipped with a double jump, a lunging attack, and a spinning attack. What a coincidence they ended up in the same story. If Amy spins her hammer for too long, she will get dizzy, being unable to walk straight for about 6 seconds. However, this can be easily bypassed by letting go of the button and pressing it again to reactivate it. So let the carnage continue. And that's all. Amy is such a fun character to play as. It's too bad she only has one dedicated section in the game currently, which makes her involvement in the end of the world even more exciting. I wanted to give a quick thank you to all the folks who lended their voices for this video. I love doing collabs like this that bring people from all over the YouTube community together. A special mention goes out to ChaosX for not only leading the charge in creating this amazing game, not only creating all of the awesome character renders throughout the video, but also for going back and updating the earlier ones to match the style and design of the later ones. Of course, I can't forget to shout out Beats for creating the character switch mod I used for the non-main characters' bios to vary up their locations. A huge thanks too to the Stelmo crew whose names are scrolling on screen right now for supporting my endeavors. And finally, a shout out to you for watching this milestone of a video, fulfilling the vision I had always intended for it when I started production 6 months ago. Thanks so much for watching, have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.